So it's good to see you again.
Nice to see you, Angie.
Good, good. So firstly, I just want to say a massive thank you for agreeing to do this interview, because the reason why I was motivated to do it is because a lot of people don't necessarily know kind of what it's like for the client to experience coaching. And I've thoroughly enjoyed working with you over the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 months or so. And for me, you're just a great example of a really good client who's made some tremendous changes. And I just thought it'd be really good to be able to have a chat with you and just share those for other people to understand what it's like from your side as well.
Mm-hmm.
So can you just give us an idea of what it was that kind of gave you the idea to get involved with coaching and reach out to me in the first instance?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that, I was at a point in my career where I'd had a couple of setbacks that had knocked my confidence a little bit. It was creating some anxiety that I had not had before. And at about the same time, I was offered a pretty tremendous career opportunity that I ended up turning down. And a large part of that was fear of public speaking. And it was at that point that I knew something had to change. Fear was holding me back from a career standpoint, and what I'd later find out more from a life standpoint. And I knew I needed to take action. So about that same time, I saw a few of your videos on LinkedIn, and the messages that you had to share just resonated with me a lot. And I did one of your call outs for a clarity call, and the rest is history.
Awesome. So the thing is as well, with you weren't exactly somebody that came across when you didn't have confidence. You were
Right.
actually very confident to begin with. And in fact, they're some of my favorite clients because you're already in a good place to work with, and you're already very successful in the work that you do. You're working at a very senior level. And there was just this one thing, wasn't there, where obviously it was the trigger was the rejection of the job opportunity that was handed to you. So we've worked together now for a number of months. So what do you think the differences are from where you were to where you are now?
That's hard to put in a small snippet, so I'll try to be concise. I would say just my entire approach to challenges, to things that prior to this would cause consternation, would cause procrastination, which would cause anxiety. It's my approach to those situations through the tools that you provided. I just have a lot more tools in my toolbox to be able to say, how can I deal with this situation? How can I be my best self in this situation? And that's something that I use on a daily basis. The learnings through the coaching process. You probably laugh, but it took several sessions for me to click. But
I remember that. I remember that moment. It all fell into place for you, didn't it? It was like somebody just waved a magic wand over your head or something.
Exactly. I was very resistant at first, just not absorbing everything that I could, and then it finally, this is it, and it was transformative after that. So I would just say that the way that I approach challenges in general, it's much more fruitful. It has much less anxiety and a lot more confidence. At the end of the day, it's about confidence. And I will say that externally, I don't think most of my audience or peers would not have known that I was struggling in any way, shape, or form. I put on a really good game face, but inside it was just a lot of unnecessary anxiety that I was coping with, not realizing why. So to the outside audience, no one would have known that there was an issue at all. When I do presentations, it's not like I get negative feedback. And more often than not, I get positive feedback, but it still remained where I, had just undue levels of anxiety. So yeah, from the outside, I don't think people would have perceived that there was an issue, but from the inside there was.
So I also remember at the beginning, you used to decline a lot of opportunities to do public speaking because you just avoided it, like most people do that have that kind of anxiety. So where are you now in terms of those types of opportunities? And when it comes to public speaking, where are you now?
Yeah, well, I think you just said it. It's their opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
Before, I would look at any time, if it was a smaller public speaking scenario, I'd still have anxiety, but I'd power through it. But if it was a larger audience, I would just find every excuse that I could to avoid those. Whether, oh, I'm sorry, I've already got something scheduled for that time, or how about we do something a little different. Now it's when those opportunities come in, one, they're opportunities. It's the opportunity for me to share knowledge and expertise with people to hopefully influence and make a difference, and align with my values in those scenarios. So it's not when an email comes in or a call comes in, Scott, can you do the speaking engagement? I'm not going to say that the fear is completely gone. The fear is still there, but the way I manage it, the way I respond to it is entirely different. And I accept those opportunities as, a part of being able to live within my values, and also part to learn, to grow. I see those as growing opportunities now, because every time you can find something to make yourself just a little bit better, a better version of yourself every single time.
It's
So
so
those
cliche,
are just
but it's so
opportunities.
true.
It is, but it isn't. It just really, once you understand it, it's just transformative how your approach to life in general changes. It's not just work, it's how your approach to life changes.
And it's funny with public speaking, because a lot of people seem to want to go and do a public speaking gig and feel nothing. And I've spent years overcoming this myself, and I work in this kind of arena, and yet I still feel something. Like, I'm not a robot. I still get like a slightly increased heart rate, but it doesn't consume me in the way that it used to consume me. So it's great that you're still recognizing, I still get a bit nervous, but it's not like you have to battle with it in the way that you used to from what you've told me in the sessions anyway. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah. And I remember very clearly one session where we were talking, and you'd ask me, okay, what does the road up to a presentation look like for you? I'm like, well, for me, many times it is, I'm driving somewhere and it takes several hours to get there. And, I would be thinking about the presentation in my head, and, I'd be getting nervous about it. And I'm just like, you know what? Just don't think about it. Just don't think about it. Turn up the radio and just get my mind off it. And I can't remember the exact example that you gave me on that one, but you have this unique ability to create these these analogies all the way along the line. And I think it was something to the effect of, if your child was crying or complaining about something, would you just turn up the stereo so loud that you couldn't hear the child? Well, no, of course not. But that's exactly what I was doing.
Sure.
So now it's just a different approach. It's looking at that to say, okay, acknowledging the feeling, accepting the feeling, understanding where it's coming from, and then just let it be. Yes, fear, I understand you're there. That's okay. There's a purpose for you being there. Next.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So do you think, tell me, like, because I always find this bit really interesting, what clients say in terms of what they expected coaching to be like versus what it was really like. Because many people that haven't enrolled with a coach, obviously they haven't had that experience. But often people pop out at the end of a program and go, that was not what I expected, but that was awesome. Like, that's what people tend to say. So what was your experience of that?
Yeah, I would say the level of insight and connection was deeper than I thought it would be. I thought it would be more, how do I put this, more textbook in nature. Here are the steps that you take, 1, 2, 3, 4, and here's your map and plan for how to execute. And I remember we had several conversations about that. And at the end of the day, it was much more of an organic process. And that made me very pleased because you were able to dig into areas in a way that I wasn't anticipating at all. And I think that that kind of transitions over into what I did not expect. And I think I referenced it before. I did not expect, I went in mainly with, okay, fear of public speaking is inhibiting my career growth. I'm doing it, but I'm avoiding opportunities. So I need to solve that one problem. I need to solve that problem. And what I didn't anticipate was that the learnings through the process would solve a lot more, would address a lot more issues, both on the career side as well as on the life side. I did not anticipate that at all. And that was obviously a really pleasant surprise, because that just made, I don't want to be cliche, but that just made life in general more enjoyable, more pleasant, and more, it just gave me more confidence across the board, just in how I approached a variety of different situations. And I will say one of the other things that I didn't expect was, we connected through LinkedIn, and it was your videos that got us to connect. I looked at several other coaches out there, but I felt that connection. And if anybody's listening or watching this, I would just say, whatever coach that you, as you're searching for a coach, make sure that you connect with that person, because there are several coaches out there that I thought had great content, but I didn't necessarily connect with them. And I felt like I connected with you right off the bat. So that's number one. Number two is, the only reason why we connected, I'm in the US, you're in the UK. This would have never happened without LinkedIn. And I didn't anticipate the level of convenience here, because I don't have to get in my car to go somewhere for a session. It's just, I'm either in my home or I'm in the office, and boom, all I need is my laptop or phone, and we can do the session right through there. And I would say the third thing is the recorded sessions. You did not, that wasn't something that I don't think you advertised. And when I went into it, I didn't think much of it, that the recordings would be, or excuse me, that the sessions would be recorded, until the first time that you sent a recording back and I listened to it. And I would say 3/4 of that session, I was just not, it wasn't sinking in. I wasn't fully hearing it. And I tell you what, I go back and I listen in succession to my sessions often. I would say every other week, I'll still go back and listen to those sessions. And every single time I learned something new from those. And it's like coaching in perpetuity. I go back and it's just like, I had forgotten about that. That's right. I need to remember that. And I'm able to re-employ some of those things, some of those learnings that otherwise I don't have the best memory in the entire world. My recall is okay, but I forget a lot of things. And it really helps to recenter me. When I'm feeling like I'm off kilter a little bit, I'll go back and I'll listen to one of those sessions, and it really helps to recenter me. So I did not anticipate that, excuse me, at all. And what I found was that was of huge value. Obviously, the connection was of utmost importance, but beyond that, it's having these sessions that I can have for a lifetime is fantastic.
I completely agree with that, and I think people underestimate the importance of recorded calls. And it's something, and I think I've mentioned this to you before, but some people like coaching, excuse me, some people like coaching face-to-face, and that's absolutely fine, and there's no right or wrong here. But for me, when you do it face-to-face, the things that you're going to absorb or even write down, even if you bring a notepad with you, are the things that resonate with you, with the person that you are at that moment, as opposed to the things that you're not necessarily, it's not going to resonate as much because you're maybe being given information that wouldn't normally connect with you or wouldn't normally land with you. So listening back, as you transform, you're then more open to information that you previously may have rejected or shut the door down to absorbing. So I think that's huge. And I've been in the coaching world for, in terms of being coached and then training and being part of it in the coaching arena for close to probably 8 years or something like that. And even now, when I speak to my coach, I go back and listen to the call and I have the same experience. So I don't necessarily think it's just to do with your memory, and you say that you have poor recall or something, but I have exactly the same experience. So it's really powerful to go back and you think, God, how did I miss that first time around? That's a huge piece of information, and that didn't land with me when I first spoke to, my coach. So I absolutely get that. And I think that's the beauty of doing it through Zoom, but it also has the opportunity, because if we were insistent on doing something face to face, you and I wouldn't have worked together.
Right. Yeah, this would never have happened. Yeah.
The beauty of technology, hey?
It really is.
What I love about it, I agree with what you said as well around it hasn't affected the connection we've had. I can't count how many times you brought me to laughter to so hard that I had tears coming down my face, which makes our session sound like they're a complete joke, and they obviously weren't, but there was so many giggles, weren't there? Like, seriously, it was ridiculous. It was like,
well, yeah. I mean, and that's the beauty of it, is that, there were some conversations where, we're getting pretty deep. And, there were some situations where it's like you're asking some very challenging questions that are seeking truth that you had to extract from me. You had to guide me through that path. And those are deep conversations that require a lot of energy. After some of those, I'm exhausted, because that emotionally that takes a lot of toll. Or I shouldn't say toll, it just takes a lot of energy. But on the flip side, the part that I liked is that in that exact same call, we could keep it very light and inject a lot of humor in there and make it really enjoyable. So yeah, I really personally appreciated
well, I appreciate it from a coaching perspective, so it's not one-sided, I can assure you. So would you say that you achieved the objectives and you got from coaching what you wanted?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think I said before, it's transformed my approach to challenges, period. So that, to me, it exceeded my expectations. And I don't want this to sound like a cheesy marketing thing or anything like that, but it really, I went in, I'm a very, I would say I'm goal-centric. Excuse me. Right. I'm goal-centric in many things. And when I came into this, it was just like, okay, that's my goal. I need to get over this problem, because it's holding me back. And what I found was, well, yeah, I addressed that and many other things. So it just gave me a new framework to look at my career, to look at my life, to look at challenges that I'm presented with, and frame those things up and be able to look at it from an entirely new perspective. So yes, I would say with a giant gold star, it met and exceeded my expectations.
Awesome. Yeah. So if you were going to give advice to somebody that's on the fence, if to go for it or not, because I hear, I think you even said this to me as well, that you've been watching my content for a while, you've even shared it in this conversation today. And a lot of people, they get a lot of value from those little 2-minute, 3-minute clips, but they're nothing like a coaching call. You just simply, I mean, it's a one-stop shop for everybody. For a start, everybody gets the same content. But when you're in a coaching call, you can get a chance to go a lot deeper. You spend over an hour talking to one person. So if you're advising somebody that's on the fence with coaching, what would you say to
that? If you are watching those videos and they're resonating with you, and you feel like that you would like to be more confident, and that you would like to, that if you've got fear that is guiding some of your decisions, whether you like it or not, get off the dime and engage. And I would say it definitely, just seek out coaching. I've thought about coaching for years and years and years. And when I looked at it, it's not an insignificant amount of money when you're talking about this coaching. And to be quite frank, for this, I had to give up some other things, material things. But it was, in order to do this, we need to, not do these things. And it was a conversation that I had with my wife at the time. And I said, I just feel like this is the time. And we did. And just look, if there's one thing I could say to anyone listening to this or watching this, is invest in yourself. There's so many times that people do not. You'll invest in other things and other experiences and things like that, but to invest specifically in yourself, it will come back in spades. I mean, I only wish that I did it a lot sooner, because there are a lot of things that I've struggled with over the years that I would have had a new framework in how to respond to that. So I would just say, if you're thinking about coaching, if you're watching some of Angie's videos and they resonate with you and you feel like you connect with her, just reach out, because it's transformative. It really is. And I know that you do the clarity calls in the beginning, and that's kind of that's what got me. That's like, well, let's just try this out and see what this could be like. And it was, I don't know, within the first 15 minutes, it was like, I'm doing this. I have to do this because things need to change. So glad I did. So glad I just encourage, if you're on that bubble of acting, just, if nothing else, just call for a clarity call and see if you connect, and see if you find value in that. And if you do, engage. Just figure out how to do it, because you will not regret it at the end.
And there's two things I guess I always try and think of it as additionally to what you've said, and I do agree with everything you've just said. So firstly, a lot of people see like a coaching course as, that's only 4 months and it's going to cost me how much? But so it's not just that you're paying for. You're paying for the benefit for literally the rest of your life. Like, people's lives change, and that means that they have decades in front of them of being somebody that has less anxiety, somebody that can manage situations differently, manage conflict more confidently, read a situation differently in a way that they can interpret it from a completely different angle. And that headspace is cleared up, that energy is risen because it isn't wasted on worrying about things that actually don't serve us at all. So it's the way that I remember thinking about it when I first went into coaching, was that, am I going to get to my deathbed when I'm in my 80s or 90s, whatever it is, and lie there and go, God, if only I'd not spent those few pounds on that one thing, actually, I wouldn't be noticing that loss in my bank account at that time. But the benefit I would have had between then and lying on my deathbed will have been completely different if it was a success. And in my instance, and in your instance, it has been. So therefore, it makes all the difference. And the reason why it has been a success for both of us, when I say both of us, I mean when I was coached and I've coached you, is because with respect to you, you've really thrown yourself at a lot of the things that we talked about. Coaching won't work for somebody if they hold themselves back, or they think that just turning up for the sessions is enough. It's what they do between the sessions, and how much they apply themselves. And you were really like, okay, what do I need to do next? And this came up for me, and how do I change it? And what can we do about that? And you were very open, willing to be vulnerable, really painfully honest, which I find so easy to work with. And that was where the change happened. It was what you did between the sessions, and that we had a bit of contact between the sessions as well. But it isn't just turning up for the sessions. That isn't enough. It's what you do between the sessions, and you really threw yourself at it, which is why I've seen the changes in you. It's what, the changes have been so profound.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you brought up the between the sessions. I would say to anyone that that's obviously, that's where the work occurs. Take what you've learned, apply. If there was one thing I would do differently, I would engage even more during in between those sessions. I did, and I just think that there's, as much as you can engage in what you learned immediately, do that. So I would just encourage anyone going through any coaching to put that into practice. It's one thing to listen back and look at your notes on what you've learned, and okay, I got to remember that for next time. Just take action immediately. That's where it's going to stick. But between the sessions, I will note that one thing that I didn't anticipate is, our connection through WhatsApp or LinkedIn or email or whatever it may be. It was just, if I had a question or needed a little bit more clarity around something, I'd pop you a quick note and you'd pop one right back. And I would just, I was always really impressed at the level of response that I got in between sessions. If I had a particular issue that I needed help sharpening up a little bit, you'd be just very responsive on that. So I just really appreciated that part of the process as well.
No, it's all part of it. And yeah, I like to do that part because people do get wobbles or they do have wins, and I want them to share them with me as well, because I almost feel like we're on this journey together, and you're paying me and you've invested in yourself and you've trusted me with that process. I make myself available between the sessions to make sure that you get to the end and you can finish it and go, I got what I wanted to get out of this. Because if you don't, it doesn't make me feel good. It doesn't make you feel good.
Right.
You feel like you've lost your money. I feel like I've not succeeded with somebody or something, and it all, doesn't feel good. But the interesting thing is that a lot of people say they're interested in coaching, and I find this fascinating. They want to make the changes, and this is where you'll be able to relate to, but you really threw yourself at it. There's some people say they want the changes, but they're not willing to take the action. It's too much work for them. But yeah, if somebody offered them a magic pill and they could just take a sip of water and pop it, and it would be the same cost as what it would be for coaching, they would probably take that pill because it was just this quick fix. Whereas actually you can have the same effect if you're willing to spend that money, but go do the work as well. And that's why not everybody is suited to coaching.
For sure.
They're not, they're not willing to put the work in to get the end result. It's like, I'm not willing to go to the gym to get fit. Well, then, if you pop a magic pill and you can have really high level of fitness, most people would, but everybody realistically knows you have to put the work in order to get there. And it's the same with coaching.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up too, because that just made me think that, I described this as, yes, it was transformative from beginning to end, but that is not to say that it was a linear line that looked like that. It was a messy line that went up and down. And I think, after the first, there was one of the sessions that we went through, I got, okay, this is right, I got it all solved. And then I went through a couple of instances where I just fell on my face. And on those ones, it's like, okay, this is not the magic pill. I mean, this requires work. It requires investment. It requires time, and over time. And that's where I love the description of you get wobbles along the way. And when I would get those wobbles, that's where I'd reach out to you and you'd help recenter. And then on the next session, we could focus on that. And so it was, so I just want people to know it's not magic one session, you're done. It requires work, and the line goes like this along the way, but it's a journey, and it's like having a guide on that journey, and that's what you did for me. So appreciated that.
I appreciate you putting the work in. It's been great. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I really appreciate you spending the time to let me do this, because I think, like I said at the beginning, it'd be really useful for other people to hear it from the horse's mouth. It's brave of you to do it, because I'm probably going to sit this on little clips on social media and things. But the thing is as well, that I just want to stress that actually having a coach is absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. Like you were never an unconfident guy. You've got a lovely family. You've got well-raised kids. You've got a great job. It doesn't have to be something to, if I've only got a problem. Actually, some people have coaching just because they want it, because they know it makes them a better person, even though they're already a bloody awesome person. And I think you fit comfortably into that category. So that's another thing why I think I enjoyed working with you so much, because it's just been so easy. The whole thing is just been so easy, and I've laughed a lot, which I always appreciate a good giggle.
So have I. And awesome. I guess in that, I would just say that, for anybody that's watching this, if Angie, if you were to ask me to do this at the in the beginning, I'd say, I don't think I want to put myself out there like that. And when you did ask me this at the very end, there was a moment of, do I, there's a certain amount of exposure, I guess you'd say, in this. And what I would say is, there are so many people that are probably in the exact same situation that I have been in here. And I just hope that, part of this conversation that we're having right now just helps you just put that in a new light, and just let you know that that you're in good company. If you have any fear, anxiety around public speaking, around big meetings, you know, when you got to go talk to the CEO, then you are in very, excuse me, sorry.
No worries.
You're in very good company there. And I would just encourage you that, to reach out, take action, and to you're really investing in yourself at that point. And I hope that this conversation helps provide a little bit of inspiration to that end.
Yay. Awesome. Well, it's awesome to see you again. And we're going to keep in touch anyway, aren't we? I'm sure we'll drop each other,
I think so,
silly messages on WhatsApp or something on LinkedIn occasionally and all the rest of it. But yeah, other than that, have an awesome day. Cheers, Scott.
Thanks so much, Angie. You too.
Cheers.